for all the trash ass statements coming our way.
Well, I should have wore that hat, to be fair, but I
really
bleached
should've.
this hat.
Austin, I have a feeling he's not going to have any trash ass statements today.
Me?
It's not Austin I'm not referring to.
Yeah, thank you.
Bring the heat.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the year's first TFTB mock draft. I did a video like this about a year ago, and then 2 years ago, we did a group video last year, so we want to make sure that this is one of the groups that we utilize the most around draft time, plus we have so long to the draft that this is all you can really do. With us is Austin, the Rank King. You look like a pumpkin. How are you today?
Oh, very, very spooky, I guess, in a sense.
Oh,
Yes, how we doing?
Wow.
That's scary.
Yeah, speaking of scary, Greg, how are you today?
Good, man. You got me in on a Sunday. This is weird.
I know. That's what Josh was like, is Greg coming in? I was like, Greg didn't say he's not coming in, which means Greg's normally coming in.
Yeah.
Scary hours, too. That's what it is.
Scary hours, too. What is up, Dre? How are you doing today?
I'm feeling good. Feeling great.
I love that sweatshirt.
Thank
The
you.
crew neck Lakers. I have my championship shirt underneath.
That's the show.
Hell yeah, baby.
That's what we do. Air 5.
But what we're going to do today is we're going
Just tried
to
like, hit me.
randomly select our order, and we're just going to walk through as if we are the GM of the team. Going into it, do you guys have a preference? Because it's you make the decision. Are you going to go more based off need or what you think the team will do?
It's going to be a mix of both, but I'm going to lean more towards what I think the team will do.
Will do or should do, I guess, is always
Yeah,
the main argument, and will do makes more sense.
Yeah,
sometimes.
I'm leaning more towards will do because I'm always a BPA guy, but on this sense, I'm going to lean towards what I feel like they're going to do. It's just kind of, I feel like I like the idea of playing into their minds and being in their shoes about what is going to do well for my team.
Yeah, and I'm more of an individual thinker, as some of you have heard from,
Boy,
some
that
of
is
my
an
takes.
understatement.
Greg's just a sheep right off the door.
Yeah,
Well,
boy, that's an
understatement.
What they should do is going to determine based off how the board falls, and
Yep.
That's sort of how I look into this.
Always let the
sometimes.
board come to you, man.
Yes.
What about you, Austin?
Normally, I am one that tries to base more off need, but I'm going to branch out a little bit.
Oh.
You're getting freaky.
We're
on
taking a
Sunday.
kicker.
Getting a little spicy, okay. He decides to relocate, and now he changes his entire opinion about stuff.
Right.
On the
Right?
Lord's Day too, Austin.
Oh boy. So let's open up here. We got the Google. It should be popping up. I don't know why it's not popping up. So give me 1 second to transition here. We do have a little Google device. There we go. That we are going to pick the order right now. So as you can see, it's a little tough on the video, but it says Moorhead, Dre, Malik, Deke. We're gonna hit this 3 times.
I like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
1, 2. This is the order. 3. First pick will be Malik, then Dre, then Deke, then Moorhead, and that'll stay in the consistent order. So Malik will have pick 5, Dre pick 6, and so on and so forth. Let me write that down just because there's a lot of moving pieces on this one.
Austin, a lot of faith in you. A lot of faith in you to pick the Steelers, to do the right thing.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I didn't even do the math to decide who was what yet, so that's imperative. Like, you already know the Steelers are Austin. I know it's like 24, and that should be simple math, but I feel like I messed that up a lot. So, so let's dive off of that. So, wow, we have a wonderful, wonderful show coming in here today for you, and we are going to start off with the first overall pick here. We're going to dive right in, which is for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It's the easiest pick in the world. I'm not even going to try to sugarcoat this. We got a brand new head coach. We got a brand new philosophy coming in. Give me the guy who is the best player in this entire draft class, even though there's a little issue with his shoulder. For all we know, it's completely fine. It's minor, but best talent available, best guy available, and it fits your team exactly what you need. And the era of the mustache is unofficially over. Give me Trevor Lawrence, quarterback from Clemson.
Greg takes Trevor Lawrence. You can see now the screen, the big board with all of the teams. Greg coming in here with what is considered, I would assume, the most cut and dry pick in the history of picks, guys.
I mean, aside from Andrew Luck going to the Colts, but that's really
Totally
about
fair.
it. Yeah.
He's the first prospect since Andrew Luck where it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
The team should take him and not think twice.
Yeah, if anyone thinks that Zach Wilson's better or Justin Fields is better, you're just lying to yourself. Like, I get it. There's certain traits that maybe you like. Like, I mean, I think Chris Sims was the one that even pointed out that Zach Wilson is Patrick Mahomes light or anything like that. But come on,
Yeah,
like
I hate when
like
people
let's
say
be
that.
real.
This is an idiot.
Yeah,
There's a
you
lot of
need.
people that are like someone.
Yeah,
There's
I'm
only-
Patrick Mahomes like in the sense that we're both human technically.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
And you probably put ketchup on your steaks.
I do,
And
but I put
Heinz.
Heinz.
Oh, thank God.
Thank God. Well,
Uh,
he's got a rep Hunt, man. That owns the team.
And he has
so.
a massive deal with him. Yeah, I don't
Oh,
blame
yeah.
him one bit.
And Heinz, shout out to them for not signing Mahomes because they're Pittsburgh-based. That would just
that would be ugly.
yeah, exactly.
Speaking of ugly, let's see if Dre, as you can see on the big board here, is coming in with the second pick. So Trevor Lawrence, who I would assume is number one on all of our big boards,
Correct.
off. So Dre, you are now with the New York Jets, and you are on the clock.
Just like the Jags, we have a new head coach, but unlike the Jags, this isn't as cut and dry as years past. This, to me, is the biggest debate in the draft in terms of what they should do in a long time. I believe they should go quarterback, but there's people out there who think that Sam Darnold deserves an offensive line. He deserves a chance. I don't believe in that whenever you get a new head coach. I think that you need to just start over, start fresh. You trade Sam Darnold, you get picks for him, but the debate is which quarterback you want to take. So we're going quarterback, and for me, I like his skill set a lot more for today's NFL. So I'm going Justin Fields.
Ooh.
Wow.
Okay.
I like that he's mobile. My personal grading scale, I like that he played in big games and he was very successful in big games. And I'm not saying that Zach Wilson's not capable of doing that. And there's other quarterbacks who didn't do that. But in terms of the pre-draft process, that's one thing that I take into account. How do you do on a big stage? Because your quarterback needs to have the guts in order to win games, and especially in a city like New York. So I'm
Wow.
going Fields.
You're not being tempted by the one-year wonder that was Zach Wilson?
I can't be tempted by the one-year wonder because I look at other one-year wonders and, they just have fizzled out, like guys like Mitch Trubisky. The Jets is a good place for Zach Wilson because, they're not going to win right now. So if he needs time to grow, time to develop, that's fine, and they got a good offensive coordinator for that. But the bottom line is that today's NFL, you need a guy that can scramble. You need a guy that can make plays with his legs, and Fields, he can do that, and he's also pretty accurate. So.
I love Justin Fields, for the record. I loved him on the Netflix show, QB1. I loved him in Georgia. I loved him at Ohio State. I think he's an absolute baller. He showed it in the playoffs a little bit. I adore the pick. It's a bold one in today's world.
Yeah, I think there's a big knock on him just because of the fact that he only played 6 games this year, but that's not his fault. I mean, that's completely the Big Ten. And also, let's not forget when he went up in a big game situation against Clemson, he torched them. And now, granted, I mean, this Clemson defense was nowhere near as good as previous years, but the fact that he came out swinging like that and he put up ridiculous numbers in that sense kind of speaks volumes.
And he showed toughness after he took that hit,
Absolutely.
that targeting, and that, to me, that's something that New York needs. They need someone like that. They have the coach. They have the coach in Saleh who has that mindset. So, you bring in a guy with Fields who can emulate that same mindset and transition on the field. It's a perfect situation for them.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Let's go to the third overall pick here, which is yours truly for the Miami Dolphins, which I don't know how it's going to fall in terms of who's going to have the Dolphins' next pick, but that is one fun thing that obviously whoever gets the Jaguars' next pick in this rotation has quarterback off their conscience. Miami Dolphins are projected to go a couple different ways in mocks. The most popular one, and we had this discussion before in terms of who is the best at this position. I don't believe technically that he is going to have the best. I don't know. I'm not a massive, and you said I would be crazy to consider Devontae Smith ahead of him, but I am going to go Jamar Chase. I don't think the year off is something that really hurt him as much as it could have, but I don't think it's great. But you look at Jamar Chase, what he's been able to do with that LSU offense on full force. I think you need to get Miami Dolphins a number 1 receiver. I hate Devontae Parker. There's a couple different ways you could have gone here, help the defense, help the offense. But if you're talking about solidifying the fact that Tua Tagovailoa needs talent, there's not many better names than Jamar Chase right now. So give me him third.
I think Jamar Chase and Devontae Smith are obviously two different type of wide receivers. Yeah. So, Jamar Chase, in my opinion, would be the guy to replace Devontae Parker. If you were wanting someone to complement him, then Devontae Smith is your guy because Devontae Smith is much more of
100%.
He's much more of a Jarvis Landry type with great hands, excellent route running capabilities and all that. But in terms of who is the best receiver in this class, yes, everyone's going to talk recency bias with regards to the fact that Devontae Smith put up some of the craziest numbers we've ever seen.
Oh, he was insane.
But Jamar Chase, like, people forget how good he was with Joe Burrow in 2019.
And
so
you look at what Justin Jefferson did last year.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
That's a
everyone
big
says
part.
that Jamar Chase was better than him.
Yeah.
So I that goes into account whenever you think about Jamar Chase and how you can grade him based off no film in 2020.
Yeah, and I think the other thing about it, Greg, you brought it up, is I don't think the Dolphins should worry about complimenting Devontae Parker. I think Devontae Parker is a fraud. I think they should sign another wide receiver. I hate Devontae Parker.
Your hatred for Devontae Parker is like equivalent to my hatred for Jared Goff in a weird way. It
I'm
really
a
is.
Parker guy, but he disappointed me.
So,
What's that, Oz?
I said you did go over like a 10-minute rant on it. I think our last 2 beers deep. That was going
On Devontae Parker?
Yeah.
Oh, I just hate him. I think he's a big bum. Anyways, speaking of big bums, Austin, you have the next pick here, brother, and you're coming in at 4 with the Atlanta Falcons.
This is an intriguing one, I feel.
Especially with Dre's pick. This opens it up a little bit.
Yeah, I know. So obviously I feel like there was a guy that I feel like would have fallen to us at this point. So now we got to redirect our situation. 1-year wonder, yes, but I will be going BYU Zach Wilson here. I think that I felt like maybe Fields could have been more of a complimentary pick as to how well we can express this offense. But, I mean, he, like I said, does not have to play right now. Matt Ryan still has, I believe, at least 1 more year to prove himself that this team can be something. And then we'll go further with that and how Zach Wilson can do it. But if he's going to fall this at least to 4, then I'm going to take him. You could argue maybe I could go corner here, but quarterback is probably the one that I would pick, and that would be BYU Zach Wilson.
Any thoughts on Trey Lance here by chance?
No.
Okay.
Not
That's
sauce.
intriguing.
No.
So the reason that I was curious about this because of the fact that Atlanta's in an interesting situation where it's not like they necessarily need to get rid of Matt Ryan from the get-go. I think that they need to build for the future. But the reason that I would say Trey Lance, I could argue that case, is because Trey Lance, I feel like, is the one right now that should not start right away. He's the one that definitely needs time to develop and time to, like, sit and learn. And I feel like if you're looking for a situation like that, I feel like Atlanta's in the best case to do that. You're learning behind an MVP, and you got 2 elite receivers to throw to, so it could be a worse situation for all that we know.
And I agree with the Lance sentiment that he's definitely should not start right away. But to go back to my theory with the Jets, new head coach, new era, and I think quarterback's definitely the pick. I love the Zach Wilson pick here, and again, like you said, Austin, he can sit and wait behind Matt Ryan. We don't know what they're going to do with him because they could cut him to save money against the cap, but at the same time, it's like, is that the worst thing in the world to keep him and just let him play out his contract? Mm-hmm. When you take a guy like Zach Wilson, it makes sense.
Yeah.
To, let him
Agreed.
sit.
And I think that I think the Falcons are in a really good situation. I mean, they sit and wait and see which one they kind of get, and if you need to target someone, you can, but the Dolphins don't need a quarterback, and they are a trade-down candidate in a draft that is heavy on quarterbacks. But speaking of a team that kind of doesn't really need a quarterback, hopefully, fingers crossed, Greg, you are on the clock with the Cincinnati Bengals.
This is the second easiest pick in this entire draft class because we all know there are 3 things that every franchise needs. You need a quarterback, you need someone to protect your quarterback, and you need someone to attack the opposing team's quarterback. If you re-sign Carl Lawson, you have that taken care of. You already got your quarterback. Get someone to protect your franchise quarterback because, for the love of God, what we saw last year broke my absolute heart when we saw Joe Burrow just get his knee absolutely destroyed by him. Give me one of the best offensive linemen that we have ever seen come out of this class. And in terms of tackles, I apologize. Quentin Nelson might be the best lineman overall that we've seen, but
I'm cool with that.
Best tackle that we have seen in a long time come out. Give me Penei Sewell from Oregon.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that pick. The Bengals got to protect the franchise, and they did a terrible job of doing that last year.
They've had offensive line problems for a long time, though, which makes it even worse.
Yeah, and, Souls, like you said, one of the biggest can't-miss offensive line prospects probably since Quentin Nelson. So protect the franchise. You do that easily, you get Soul. Mm-hmm. We thought that, if they ended up higher, round 2, that would be the pick. But based off the way the board's going to fall, I see no way how they don't get him at 5.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are trying to also put this argument in here of who is the better one between him and Rashawn Slater. And I get the bet as well as the number one tackle we got going here.
So
Interesting.
Austin, with regards to that, I am a big fan of Slater. My problem with that is Slater is a guy that is so multi-positional valued to the point that, like, if you want to take him, you're looking at it from the perspective of regardless of where I need the help at, I can plug and play him. I need someone to be the blindside protector in some sort of way. So I feel like right now Sewell is the guy that is still above and beyond that idea. And yes, Sewell set out this year, but I mean, there's a lot of guys that set out this year, and I feel like
Jamar Chase set out this year.
Right.
Like,
There's I hold nothing against guys that set out this year. So
Bunch of little wussies, but speaking of little wussies, Dre, you are on the clock with the Philadelphia Eagles.
This is an interesting pick.
I'm excited for this one.
You
it's gonna be
know, this is interesting because I believe the Eagles need a lot. But more so, I think they need to do something to make a splash to reunite their fan base with their team. And I think the best person to do that is Devontae Smith at 6.
All right.
I go him. He was the most popular player last year. He's one of the most exciting to watch in terms of the landscape of college football. Won the Heisman. Like, what better person to insert on your franchise than Devontae Smith, especially at this point? Yeah, you kind of hope Jamar Chase falls, but if he doesn't, it's still a sexy pick in Devontae Smith. You went wide receiver last year. You went the wrong wide receiver last year. This year, I think it's a little bit, they're kind of safe where they don't have to make that decision in which receivers won. They can kind of sit back and say, oh, hey, we're going to take the better one of the two between Chase and Smith. And I've been an advocate of saying Chase is number 1 on my board. I don't think it's any doubt that Smith is number 2 on my board. I love Jalen Waddell, but give me Smith here at 6. Get Jalen Hurts more weapons, and I'll reunite that fan base with the team. They need it. They need it in a bad way.
I want to throw this out here that, like, I don't hate Jalen Ray Gordon anyway. I mean, he was hurt for a good part of the beginning of the year, so I feel like that took a while to get his legs caught underneath him. But I agree with you in the fact that they desperately need some pass catchers there. Yeah, they need some sort of offensive skill set right there. I mean, I could also argue offensive line here as well, because there's a good argument to be made that, like, I mean, they can't keep bringing Jason Peters back on 1-year deals. Like, at this point, they need someone to, like, take that off, because they always fall into that trap every single year. So I wouldn't mind Slater, or maybe even if you want to reach here, you could go Vera Tucker just to, like, get a guard play in here. But yeah, I think wide receiver is desperate here, because there's no one in that passing game that threatens me aside from Zach Ertz and maybe Goddard.
They need so many pieces, but wide receivers are so bad for them.
And plus, I feel like they're going to trade Zach Ertz this year. I'm a big proponent of that.
There's two things I have right here. And I want to point out to last year's argument that Trey had that said, why would they take a receiver when they need corners? So that's something that I just would bring up.
No, I agree.
2 corners available with Farley and Surtain. You also have the fact that, is it crazy to see if Kyle Pitts goes here? Because
yes.
They trade Zach Ertz, they want to still roll with that 2 tight end system of Goddard and Pitts. I mean, I would not do it, but there's a lot of people out there that are considering Pitts here at the 6th.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that's going to determine what Sirianni wants to do in terms of his offensive system. But I did consider Pitts here. I really did, because, like you said, the 2 tight end systems, what they're popular for now. But again, I'm not a big fan of taking. To me, that just seems like a luxury pick, because Goddard, I think, has the makings of a number 1 tight end.
I agree.
They have a lot more immediate needs.
They've had 2 tight ends before, and it hasn't done anything for them.
It hasn't worked out. And to be honest, if we're going to be honest, it really hasn't worked out for anyone since Gronk and Aaron Hernandez. Like, I can't think of a team that ran 2 tight ends and both were effective off the top of my head outside of that team.
Yeah, like the one that only comes to my mind in all seriousness is probably Indianapolis when they had Fleener and
I thought you were going to say Doyle and Ebron.
Allen. And even
No.
It's Fleener and Dwayne Allen. Even
that's really it, because Andrew Luck was like actually doing well for them. But aside from that, no, I can't think of anyone.
The only other name that I like here for the Eagles, because secondary help's an interesting one, Austin, but there has not been a cornerback taken in the top 10 recently that I'm like, oh, that guy needed to be there. Like, the last secondary piece that's taken that high that I was like, thank God, it's Minkah Fitzpatrick, Jalen Ramsey maybe, but those guys are so far ahead. So the only other name that I like for the Eagles in some mocks is Micah Parsons,
yes,
because they haven't had linebackers, but I've gone wide receiver in every single one of mine. So let's keep it rolling here. The next team, which I'm sorry, Greg, that I took it from you, is your secondary team here, the Detroit Lions.
This hurts me.
Well, they have a lot of needs.
They do.
I would say that they have an impressive amount of needs. They are going to lose most likely Kenny Golladay.
Yep.
They just traded away Matt Stafford and brought in Jared Goff. They still have T.J. Hawkinson. They have an above-average line, a decent defense, but they have no identity. They want ballers. They want winners. They want players. So it's kind of an interesting one for me. But I look guys here. There are two guys that I'm picking between. But in all seriousness, it's time for Detroit to make a move that they honestly don't really ever do.
Ooh.
And that is one quarterback, Trey Lance, coming out here. And Trey Lance is a guy that I know, Dre, you've been high on for a while now. Trey Lance is a freak athlete. Trey Lance has a ton of question marks. Jared Goff, for me, still has a couple years left in this league as a premier ball thrower. I think it's good. Yeah, they have a lot of issues for the receivers and everything. I thought about Pitts here, but I love Hawkinson. I thought about Waddle here. But if you're not going to get your quarterback of the future as a new coach, with all the things going on in Detroit, it's just, for me, it was a no-brainer.
You know what? Part of me, if it was me picking, I would have gone Micah Parsons because I desperately think they've needed an identity on that defense for the longest time. And I feel
Totally fair.
And if I'm looking at this team, I feel like Dan Campbell strikes me as the guy that wants to rebuild the defense because he was part of that rebuild in New Orleans a little bit. But we've touched on this, that Trey Lance is probably the quarterback that desperately needs to sit for a year just to kind of get his feet under him, get his
100%.
bearings. And Jared Goff being the quarterback in Detroit for at least 2 more years is probably the one that is the best case scenario for him because Goff won't wow you in any way, but he's the guy that
He's top 15.
He's top 15ish. He won't lose you a game. He will not lose you a game, basically. So I like this a lot. Trey Lance can be the guy that takes his time to develop, and they get a quarterback that they desperately need in Detroit, even though Matt Stafford's best years are wasted there. So this is a good pick to me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised by this.
I'm not gonna lie, I am pretty surprised.
Yeah.
And I only say that because I don't want to allocate a lot of money into that quarterback position. With Jared Goff's contract, I feel like they want to try and justify that. But you're also, again, not wrong about the sense of the fact that, a new head coach, you need a new quarterback, and he's a guy that can sit 1-2 years behind Jared Goff. I'm with Greg, though. I look at this defense, and I need somebody to make an impact. Micah Parsons is a good person right here, as well as someone like Patrick Surtain. Because they traded away
But they
Slay.
just took their quarterback last year.
Yeah, but you're playing in division with Aaron Rodgers. You need to try and stop all these weapons as much as possible.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, Minnesota showed that
Make sure you're talking to the side of your mic too, Dre. Sorry to cut you off.
I mean, Minnesota took 2 corners last year. They both got smoked, but at least they improved throughout the year. So
Yeah.
I look at Cleveland very heavily too there because you take Greedy Williams and you have so many corners that you continuously get that are good, and the only one that's really flourished is Denzel Ward. I mean, I would rather miss on a quarterback than get a cornerback here for the Lions. So I don't mind Surtain or Farley. I think Micah Parsons is a name that all of the last couple teams I've considered Micah Parsons very heavily for, and I don't know where he's going to fall, so it's exciting.
And for the record, I have not given up on Jeff Okudah yet. I mean, it's it's top 3 overall pick.
No, I have not either.
I'm not either. I'm just saying he needs help.
Top 3 overall pick corner. I mean, come on. Odds were he was going to have some big adjustments.
Yeah.
Speaking of big adjustments, Austin is now at the helm of the Carolina Panthers here, buddy. How you feeling?
Yeah. Well,
That good, huh?
People kept getting snatched from underneath for where I had my guys at. Lance was an interesting one that I would have considered here, but now we got to go elsewhere. And you could argue offense, but I'm going to go defense. And I feel like one that could possibly maybe impact that position that they've been wanting to for so long. And I don't care how they say it. Give me Michael Parsons here.
Oh, wow. Well, that is their Luka Kuechly 2.0-ish, right?
Yeah.
Talk about it a little bit, Aus.
You've been wanting to get a player in that position since he's retired. And obviously, if the offense is willing, if Trey Lance is able to follow her, I even considered Kyle Pitts here because I really don't do anything aside of that tight end position with Ian Thomas right now that's going on. And you got to argue that a lot of their defensive rookies were able to pull some stuff out of the water last year, right? Their defense was not bad.
Brian Burns.
By any stretch of the doubt. So I would think putting Parsons here probably would be the best scenario.
Yeah, Austin, I really like this a lot because their defense was probably the bright spot for them last year. Brian Burns is really good. Jeremy Chin was fantastic for them last year. So I think they've desperately needed a replacement for Luke Kuechly for a while. The offense still needs work from time to time. I don't want to give up on Teddy Bridgewater, but if they're not going to like put resources to help him out with that, then you might as well just keep building up that defense to get some sort of an identity there. So I love Micah Parsons. He is truly a top 10 talent. He could arguably be top 5 for all we know, but yeah, he deserves to be a top 10 pick in this draft.
And it's funny that you go defense because last year they didn't take one offensive player. So
No, Jeremy Chin was a second round guy.
No, I'm saying that Carolina's entire draft class last year
Was
was all
defense.
defense.
Oh, I thought you said they didn't take defense. I'm
No,
sorry.
they didn't take
all
offense.
defense.
Yeah, you're good.
Offense. So, and you got Chin. You need playmakers at all 3 levels, and the one place that they don't have them, Shaq Thompson's good, but Shaq Thompson's not great. I think Michael Parsons can be great. You replace Kuechly with a new quarterback of the defense, and I really like this, especially because, like you, Austin, I have quarterback penciled in here. I think Trey Lance is a good target for them, but with him off the board, you don't reach, which is something that quarterback-needy teams can often do. But instead, what they do is kind of sit back and say, all right, what's the next position we can fill? And Micah Parsons, to me, is that perfect pick.
Right. Before we move on by any stretch of the doubt, do we actually see Parsons' name sliding down, obviously, with the whole off-field issue? Because a lot of teams do consider that. I mean,
Wait. What off-field issue?
Yeah.
Wasn't he involved in the hazing story that went on in Penn State all those years?
Not that I'm aware of. I've never heard the hazing situation.
I thought that was going on, but...
There's accusations against Parsons, but none of them were drastic to the point to alter draft stock. It would have to be something like a Laramie Tunsil that came out day of. Gross Matos was in that, and he didn't get any kind of slack or
Yeah,
knock.
I think Gross Matos was still like a late first, early second or something.
There were just some stories that came out that say that this could have impacted his draft stock and where it could have went. But if he's happy to slide here, I'm willing to take him. So. Speaking
of, we mentioned quarterback needy teams. I'm very interested to see what happens with this pick. Greg, you're up with the Denver Broncos.
This one's intriguing for me. There's a lot of different areas that I could see them going. Drew Lock, we still are kind of unsure about what we could possibly get from him. I think he has as many weapons as you could possibly need for him. Like, we all know how much Dre loves Cortland Sutton, and he was injured last year. He's got a great tight end with Noah Fant to work with. Running game is still solid. Melvin Gordon is no slouch. I wouldn't be opposed to them taking someone later in this class. And the defense is intriguing. They run a 4-3. Bradley Chubb is still great. Von Miller's coming off injury, so we don't know what's going to happen there. Micah Parsons, I feel like, would have been perfect for this one because they desperately need like a quarterback on that defense. But I'm going to go a route that I feel like is something that Drew Lock doesn't have. And I'm going to go offensive line because he desperately needs some protection. And I'm looking at some different areas right here. Give me the guy who I actually think is kind of a Swiss Army knife in this class. Give me Rashawn Slater from Northwestern.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I love this. I think he's the biggest wild card in this class because there's argument that he could be a top 5 pick just because of the fact that you can put him anywhere. But I think Slater going somewhere to help protect a guy that still could, for all we know, potentially be a franchise quarterback because Drew Lock, I believe, is only in his 3rd year. So I feel like it's early to give up on him. I mean, there's odds too. If we look at it, he was a 2nd-round pick. So when we're touching on this, he doesn't get the 5th-year option. So these next 2 years are make or break for him because after that 4th year, you can't recur him. You're going to have to give him big money, and I think protecting him is the best way to go. And Slater is one of those things that regardless of what position you desperately need, I feel like he could fill it. I mean, I don't know if he's a center by all means, but guard he could fill in.
He could fill in, yeah.
He could fill in, but guard or tackle, I think he would be perfect for them. And they desperately need Drew Lock to stay healthy.
Who's their best line? And Garrett Bowles?
Yeah.
Garrett
you know
Bowles,
what I mean? Like,
well, and that's the thing too. Like Garrett Bowles, it was just this year that he decided to actually show us something, and he's still old. Like he was drafted, I think, at 20. Like as a 23,
it was a very reached first rounder, but he was a need.
Yeah, he was a 23-year-old who got his 2nd contract, and he's 27 or 28 right now. So like, odds are like he probably is going to be a cap casualty in a couple years anyway. So I'd rather get someone at least a little bit younger to help out with that. And Bulls, I don't trust to be a long-term guy for the blind
No.
side right there. So, like, I think Slater is the best way to go here.
So, interesting point going with the offensive line route, Greg, because there's a position that I think that they could very much use, and we saw it last year, and that's corner.
Well, and Austin, that's not a bad take because they did just cut A.J. Bouye. So,
Yeah, we had 4 other corners that were either injured or on IR.
Yep.
So,
well, and I see your point there because, yes, you have Surtain, you have Farley that are up here in 2. But I'm looking at value-wise right there, and I think in terms of the top half right here, there's a lot of good offensive linemen that could really step up there. And I think in the second round, you can still get some decent value. Like, you can get Greg Newsome from Northwestern, too, if you want to, and I think he'd be a great pickup for them at that point, too. And corners in the top 10 for me are so shaky to begin with right there. I'd rather go for a position that I feel like addresses a need and is also a great value pick for them, which is offensive line in this case, because I'm a big fan of Slater, to be honest.
Oh, he's massive, and he's high on my board, and I still think Drew Lock has some potential despite how bad he was
I agree.
last year.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting.
I'm a big Drew Lock guy too, and last year I know they had Bulls, but their other tackle opted out. That line was just terrible. It was absolutely atrocious. So you got to protect him in order to get the ball to these horses that he has on offense. He has a ton of weapons.
He had an injury scare and everything last year. Steelers injured him week 2 and really didn't look the same going down the year. So.
Speaking of some horses on offense, Dre, we'll do the rich get richer with the Dallas Cowboys.
This is a fun pick. I'm very glad I get to have this because I just want to say this right now. What they should do, what they need to do, is sign Dak Prescott and stop messing around. And because they haven't, there's a lot of speculation that quarterback could be a pick here. Jerry's a psycho like that. Just thinking of things that Jerry Jones would do, like Kyle Pitts is someone I feel like he would do. Why? Because they don't have a tight end. We need our next Jason Witten. Like, he's a complete psychopath when it comes to the draft.
Didn't really even get a shot this year because he got injured. So.
What they need to do, they need to look at that defense and they need to get pressure on the quarterback. So my pick right here is Kwity Paye.
Ooh.
I'm going Kwity Paye because they cannot, by any means, get to the quarterback. They got 2 really good inside backers, but they got no one on the outside. They got DeMarcus Lawrence, but that's all they have. Another thing that they could do here is defensive back, because again, that defensive back feels pretty atrocious. But I think with pressure, you can sort of make up for that. And again, I know they play Terry McLaurin, but like he's really the only real big playmaker in that division on the outside. So, but the quarterbacks, they need to be able to contain them because, now you got Jalen Hurts in there instead of Carson Wentz. Daniel Jones, you saw him scoot down the field and then just sniper from the trees, just shot his legs out and he fell as he was running for that touchdown. Scrambling Danny Jones. All I'm saying is that they were terrible last year when it came to sacking the quarterback. They were the bottom of the league. They got to be able to do it. Kwity Paye is the pick here for me.
I think the one interesting thing is that they are going to get, in some realm, way, shape, or form, maybe, Gerald McCoy back. So they did have a big injury issue with him. They didn't really pressure. That defense was just terrible.
Yeah.
Are they actually getting him back, or did they did they cut him completely?
Complete cut when he got hurt.
Okay.
But there was mutual interest based off what they were hoping he would bring to that team.
Okay.
That he'll sign some kind of a cheaper deal with them. I originally had Kwity Paye higher than a couple of the other defensive ends. I think he'll be there. He's just going to be an engine for the team. I do not hate this pick at all, but we've said it for the past 3 teams. Somebody has to get secondary help, and the Cowboys' secondary is dog shit.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
It really is. And, I would have loved to go Surtain here. I think he's destined to be a Cowboy in the end, based off how the board's going to fall. But
Right.
I agree.
I'm passing on him right now because, again, they were bottom half. They were not bottom half. They were bottom 5th in the league in sacks. Like, you got to be able to sack the quarterback. It's part of the pillars.
Which is, and it's interesting too, because this is such a weird defensive end class in general. I don't want to say it's weak, but it's like
It's strange.
It is. It's very strange.
It's a strange class for edge rushers.
There's a couple names that I like later on that make me avoid some of the heavier guys, but you just never know. So let's keep going. I am up for the New York Football Giants. This team is ugly, man. And it's getting to the point where a lot of people are curious about certain positions that they have on both sides of the ball. You know, they obviously recently cut they cut Golden Tate, and it's weird, and Sterling Shepard's still there, and they kind of have some receivers, and Daniel Jones kind of looks good, and they still have Saquon. Issues out the complete ass for them, but I think it's one of those things that I think he's fallen too far. I think that we go with pure talent. I love Evan Ingram, but Kyle Pitts is a different beast. Kyle Pitts is a freak athlete. He can play wide receiver. They're comping him very heavy to Vernon Davis in his early years because you can put him outside. You can put him inside. You can make him a tight end. I think Evan Ingram is a lack of quarterback, a lack of structure there. Like, the talent is clearly there. But you can't tell me that this team doesn't just need studs, and I think that Kyle Pitts is the stud.
I think this makes Evan Ingram expendable, obviously, because I feel like Ingram and Pitts are kind of one and the same
Yes,
with regards
very
to
much so.
with the type of tight end they're going to play right there. Pitts to me is right from the get-go better than Ingram. That's an upgrade right immediately right there. So I think this is a great value pick for them. This adds another weapon for God, why am
Danny
I
Dimes.
Danny Dimes. God.
Danny.
Nerd.
Yeah, I would have kind of preferred Jalen Waddle here, just because I feel like with regards to receivers, they did just get rid of Golden Tate,
Yep.
and you are higher on the receivers in the Giants than most people are, so I don't blame you for that. But I feel like Waddle would have been maybe a little bit better pick here.
Yeah, and I go Waddle over Pitts, and just watching
Talent or for here?
for here.
Okay.
Talent-wise, you hit the nail on the head. Like,
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay, cool.
That's not my concern with the pick here. My concern is with your evaluation. I believe in Evan Ingram as far as a talent as well, and they were absolutely impossible trying to get him the football last year and scheming for him. That's my fear when you go a guy like Pitts. It's like you have a guy in Ingram you already struggled to scheme for. Now you're gonna basically supplant him with Kyle Pitts, who's more talented, but you couldn't do it with him. So I go Waddle because of that fact that you can put him on the outside, and to me, he's already a wide receiver. Like, he needs wide receiver.
To challenge that just a little bit, you can put Pitts on the outside, but they have one of the best running backs in football, and I know Saquon was hurt last year. Having the option to do 2 tight end sets for blocking purposes should hopefully – now, obviously, Jalen Waddle would stretch the field for Saquon, but the fact that you can put Pitts on the outside and he can sit inside and block a little bit, put a lot into it because their line's not great, man, wide receivers like Waddle, I think Waddle is an amazing talent, but that hit or miss, the area to grow there, I think Pitts is much more plug-in right now, and he makes that offense potent.
I'm intrigued to see how much better this offense will run with Saquon Barkley, because the fact they went 6-10 last year was, I feel like, a miracle.
Almost won the division.
Yeah, really.
Crazy. What are you thinking, Moorhead?
For the next one or for this one?
For this one.
Well, it's interesting how because a lot of people have Jalen Waddle going here, but I actually don't hate the pick of Kyle Pitts, not even based off talent. I think that he's the more set tight end, that he can play outside and he can give you that little bit of spread down the field that you're looking for instead of a tight end. And I wouldn't want to block him. Screw that, especially in that division. He's going to eat.
Yeah, I love it. And let's keep it rolling here, brother. You are up, Austin, for the San Francisco 49ers, which, again, this is, I think, one of the more pivotal decisions in the draft.
I mean, for me, the fact that there are some names here is shocking, to say the least. But
it's how the board falls, buddy.
Yep, I know. This is straight out of the board. This is where I'm going. This is corner Patrick Surtain out of Alabama. Yeah.
All right.
Good job, Austin.
Richard Sherman's getting up there in age, man. You got to find a guy that's going to be able to knock him off the block.
Well, he's a free agent, so.
Oh, he's a free agent now.
See, there was rumors of some kind of signing back, but yeah, he is a free agent currently.
That's even double the market now. Double down and take Surtain. Final offer.
I'm with you. As we talked about the fact that Surtain can go maybe Cowboys, he could possibly go Broncos. Whether it's Surtain or Farley off the board, I think you absolutely have to take the other one. It's the same situation with the Falcons in terms of the quarterbacks between Wilson and Fields. Take the cornerback that's going to be there, and out with Sherman, in with in this case Surtain. I love the pick. I think it's a home run.
Yeah, I feel like also Surtain, from what we've touched on too, Surtain I feel like is a much better guy for zone coverage, which is what the Niners implement.
Yeah,
in some
very
sort of way
much so.
anyway. So with that being said, I feel like he's a perfect scheme fit for them.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be younger. He's very aggressive in pass coverage as well. So I think that's a very excellent pick right there.
Yeah, and to get back to the Super Bowl, it was defense, and they're going to get healthy up front.
Oh yeah, everyone's coming back. So
yeah,
this is
so-
going to be a scary team to watch.
Very excited.
I am interested because they're if one of these quarterbacks falls a little bit, will they dive? Are they going to go try to get somebody to replace Jimmy? I don't think that they don't like Jimmy Garoppolo. I think there's a cap on what he can do for that team, but as long as he can hand it to that run attack, they'll be just fine.